Hey guys, it's Noel Powell from creationeffects.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this 3D audio waveform that reacts to your audio in After Effects. Or I'm also giving it away as a free download. You'll get the After Effects project where you just drop in your audio, and it has a bunch of customization controls so you can easily customize it. So I'll put that link in the description, but if you want to learn something new, just keep watching. I'll show you how I made this. We're going to set this up to be very flexible, meaning you'll be able to create a lot of different looks from it. And I'll also show you how to use the volume of your audio to drive any effect that you want to add to this. I've been making audio visualizers like this for months, creating dozens of different kinds of abstract visuals that are all driven by the frequency and volume of music. So I'm going to share with you a bunch of the tips and tricks that I learned in this video. So let's go ahead and get started because they aren't paying me by the hour. In fact, they aren't paying me at all. I don't think there even is a they, not that I'm aware of. So I have an HD comp here, and I'll drag my music inside. And we can do this effect all on a single layer. So I'll add a new black solid and name it waveform. And we need to have an audio spectrum effect on this to get just a basic audio waveform. And set the audio layer to your music layer. And just to see the waveform better, I'll increase the number of frequency bands and I'll increase the maximum height. Another property you can play with is this audio duration. If you decrease that, it will increase the width of the waves. So broad hills as opposed to sharp peaks. And you'll want to play some audio just to see what frequencies are the most active. You can increase the end frequency if you want, but usually all the action is going to be down here from about 20 to 1 or 2,000 hertz. So you can see in the final effect we've got multiple different colored waveforms, each displaying different frequencies. Some are closer to the camera, so they're in front of the other ones that are further back. So I'm going to make 3 copies of these waveforms, and each one will display a different frequency range, somewhere within 0 to 2000 hertz. So this first one, I might make this one just 0 to 800 hertz, and I'll name it back because it'll be the furthest back. And I'll move the start and end point so that they go across the frame near the top like this. And I should have increased the thickness a little. All right, and I'll duplicate the effect and rename it. And I'll move this one below it. Now we can't see both waveforms until we turn on composite on original. And actually we need to turn it on all of them or the effect won't work. So I'll do it on this one too. And on the second effect, I'll change up the frequencies, maybe 1600 to 400. So high to low. So this waveform will actually go backwards for variety. And it's okay if the frequencies overlap. And I'll make one more copy and name it front. And I'll put it down here. We don't need to go as far down as the middle. That would just be silly. And when you're done, it should look something like this. You may need to adjust the maximum height properties just so they're not all crossing over each other when the music gets louder. And one last thing I would do is adjust the color properties. I'll just change each one so that we get kind of a gradient from purple to red. So purple on the top, and I'm colorblind, so if I say purple and I actually choose a blue, just tell me. And if you tell me, I'm just gonna keep going because you're way over there and I'm over here. But typically we want a lighter color for the front and a darker color for the back because it affects their height, as you'll see. Okay, next we'll add a blast fox fur effect to this, or a fastbox blur, to soften it up about that much. And now the fun part, we'll convert this to 3D particles using the CC ball action effect. CC ball action is a really cool effect, and I've actually made a whole bunch of audio visualizers made of particles using this effect. I put them all in a pack for After Effects that I called Pulse. And it's not just particle-based visualizers, but all kinds of abstract, audio-driven visuals. Like there's a flamethrower, or an ink blot, swarming shapes, connected line and dot networks. They all move to the music. And there are also some really cool effects that distort your video footage in different ways and sync with the rhythm of your music. So there are 30 ready-to-render audio visualizer presets in that pack, and it's called Pulse. If you work a lot with music, or if audio-reactive visuals are your thing, go check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. So as I was saying before I so rudely interrupted myself, the CC ball action effect turns a layer into a bunch of tiny balls. And you can push the balls outward to create a 3D form. And the brighter the area of the footage, the further that area gets pushed out. So you can kind of see when I increase the displace property, what that looks like. And to get smaller particles, I'll turn the grid spacing down to 0 and maybe increase the ball size. I could rotate it a little bit if I want. I could add a camera to this since it's 3D and move the camera closer. And we've already got an interesting look here, but that's not what we're making today. So I'll undo all that and I'll set the twist property to brightness. I'm going to orbit my camera around just so it's easier to see what's happening. And I'll start increasing my twist angle. And by my twist angle, I mean the property. I don't even know what increasing my twist angle means, but it doesn't sound like any tutorial I would do. Not my expertise. Anyway, that pushes the balls out in an arc form. It's kind of hard to see because it also rotated the layer, but if you look closely, the balls are being pushed out further, the further they are from the middle, but also taking their brightness into account. Okay, I'll reset my camera position and I can set the twist angle to -180 degrees. And I'll rotate the whole thing 90 degrees. So the goal there is to make that plane flat or level with the camera. You can play with the ball size property if you want to adjust the density. I usually like smaller particles for more detail, but I think for the tutorial I'll make them easier to see. I'll just increase the grid spacing to 1, which makes the balls a little bigger. And now because we rotated the layer, some of the waveforms are in front and some are behind. Remember, the waveforms at the edge of the layer are pushed up more than the waveforms near the middle of the layer. But also, the brighter the pixels are, the higher they are pushed up. So you can go back and adjust the colors of those audio spectrum effects to adjust the height of any of these waveforms. Now, if I go back into my Fastbox blur effect and adjust that blur amount, you can see how it affects the waves. It makes them smoother. I would also want to have these waves get smaller on the left and right edges rather than getting cut off like this. So to do that, we need to fade the waveforms to black on the sides. I'll hide my CC ball action for now, and there's a number of ways to do it, but you don't want to fade out the alpha channel by just adding a mask and feathering it. Instead, we want to fade the colors out to black. So I'll do that with a fill effect, which just makes the whole layer red. And I'll put the effect before the CC ball action effect. And now I'll add a mask. If I click and drag from the middle, it'll be perfectly centered. You have to hold down the Command or Control key as you drag. And I'll make a rectangle mask that looks something like this. And I want to apply the fill just to the masked area. So I can go down here in fill and I'll add a compositing option. And you can see the fill is applied to my mask. So I'll just go to my mask properties now and invert it. And I'll increase the feather and change it to black. And I'll turn my CC ball action effect back on now, and you could adjust the mask properties to however you want. So now that we did the top half, we can make the bottom half really quickly. I'll just duplicate the layer, and on this one, in the CC ball action effect, I'll change that twist angle from -180 to just 180. And then you might want to get into these audio spectrum effects and switch up the frequency ranges again, unless you want a mirror copy of the waves that are on top. And let's take this to a new level now. We'll use an old trick for linking effects to your volume, or the volume of your audio. I'll right-click the audio layer and go to Keyframe Assistant and choose Convert Audio to Keyframes. And that creates this audio amplitude layer with all these keyframes. Just type the U key to reveal those keyframes. And watch the values as I scrub through. They go up and down with the volume of the audio. So now we can use this slider value to drive any property on any effect in After Effects. So back on my waveform layer, I could add like a color balance HLS effect. And I'll alt-click the hue property, which opens up this expression box. And I'll pick whip this property to that slider value. So now our hue is changing with that slider value, but it's probably not changing enough. The hue operates in degrees, so if we really want dramatic color changes, we have to get this value to shift more than just 10 degrees. So we can just add a times 10 at the end of this expression to amplify the value, and that should do the trick. And of course you can use that trick on any property. The sky's the limit. Like you can put this on some kind of warp effect or the camera position and make the camera move in and out with the volume of the music. I don't know. Be creative. And there are a number of other effects we could add to this to get different looks. First of all, if you're using small particles, you probably want to brighten it up. So I would add a curves effect and bring that up. If we add a mosaic effect and put it before the CC ball action effect, we can turn these into planks or something like a 3D digital waveform. If we add a Venetian blinds effect, we can turn these into strings, vertical or horizontal. Or a block dissolve effect, I use that to thin out the balls, like if I just want a few particles. And here's a cool trick. The quality of the CC ball action effect is based on the size of the layer. So what we could do is add a transform effect, and I'll duplicate it. This one I'll put before the CC ball action and increase the size of the layer 300%. That's going to give us a lot more balls to work with and increase the quality. But you can see our waveforms are huge now. So on this other transform effect, I'll scale the layer back down to the Naked Gun 33 1/3. It's going to run a lot slower if you do this, but it'll look smoother. And now maybe I'll add an adjustment layer, and we could put a glow effect on this. That would look nice. We'll just set this to vertical and increase the radius to get these vertical streaks. CC Collida will let you make some really interesting abstract audio visualizers. Or if you add a polar coordinates effect on there, you can wrap the design into a circle and get something like this. One final tip for you. You can see how unstable or jittery these waves are. They vibrate really fast, and depending on the type of music, it can get really shaky and chaotic. So what you can do is add an echo effect, put it before the CC ball action. Just set the echo operator to maximum and give it about 7 echoes and decrease the decay a little bit to make the echoes fade out. And those echoes have the effect of basically averaging out or evening out that quick up and down movement of the waves. So those are all tips that I learned while making all of these audio visualizers for Pulse. Again, if you find yourself needing audio visualizers a lot, Pulse is going to save you a lot of time, and it's going to let you quickly render visualizers that don't really look like anything else out there. So I'll leave the link in the description so you can go watch the video for that. If you like this tutorial, please give it a like. I'm always putting out After Effects tutorials and free effects that you can download. So subscribe if you'd like to see more. Hope you like the effect, and thanks for watching.